You're listening to The Wounded Healer, Journeys into Amazing Health, with your host, Star Waters, the wellness and transformational podcast giving hope and restorative health to those who are sick and tired of being sick and tired. Now, here's your host, Holistic Wellness Coach, Star Waters.
Well, welcome to the Wounded Healer, Journey into Amazing Health podcast, episode 3. I am so happy that you're here. Today is a special day. You are in for a treat, let me tell you. One of my favorite people in the whole world, Sandy Rodgers, is our special guest today. Sandy is one of the amazing people that when you know her, she is the poster child for the song, I'm Every Woman. Sandy, you've done it all. You seemingly know it all. And we are blessed to have you here with us today. Thank you so much for coming. So Sandy's going to share her amazing wisdom. And Sandy, and I'm just talking all over you, girl. Let me give you a chance to say something, child. Say something.
It's my pleasure to be here with you, Star. And I just want to thank you for this opportunity to share with your guests and to be able to talk with you and have this discussion. Because as we both know, it is a time such as this where we must avail the knowledge to people, especially those that are eager to learn and want to do something different with their lives. So thank you for having me.
Wow. Well, it is my extreme pleasure. So before we go on any further, because I have given everybody the heads up that they're in store for a wonderful sharing from you, I just want them to know a little bit about who you are. So Sandy Rodgers is a qualified educator, life coach, professional trainer, Reiki master, teacher, and practitioner. She's a certified healing food educator and whole food plant-based lifestyle enthusiast, minister, radio personality, and best-selling author. She shares her huge smile and healing hugs with everyone she encounters. She was born and raised in Watts, California, and is fully invested in community life and individual empowerment, activity working within marginal populations. That is a mouthful, Sandy. I mean, where does a person begin to even start interviewing someone with such credentials as you? Let us know about how you got started doing all this stuff. Were you always interested in these kind of modalities of healing and expertise? And I know you're also a professional speaker. Oh, gosh, you're an author. What is it that you don't do? Where did you get started knowing about this stuff, and what made you want to know about it?
Well, the thing is, I don't know where the beginning point where it lies. But if you were to talk to any of my family members, they would tell you that growing up, I had my family, my older cousins and family members, I had them eating mud pies. And I was only like 3 or 4 years old, 5 or 6, whatever. But I made them eat the mud pies, and they said there was no tricking me, So it wasn't like yum yum yum, this is good, and they didn't have it in their mouth. They said I would make them open up their mouths and check it and see. So at some level, at some soul level, I just knew that eating from the land was very important for us. And then around 11 years old, my brother and I, being in Watts. And for those that may not understand the importance of what Watts is the ghetto, the area where they keep people of color, and those areas are normally plagued with all kind of negative thinking, negative opinion, low self-esteem, and all of those nuances that belong into those deprived areas. But we just felt something, that just because we're in what they were calling the ghetto doesn't mean that we have to think like we're in the ghetto. And so that whole sense of empowerment started back during that age time, at 10, around 10 or 11. And so you can literally say I've been doing this work all my life, just in, different aspects, from individual and community empowerment, being an advocate, an activist, and just knowing that there's something always better than what we can see with the physical eye.
Wow. That whole thing about the mud pies is really awesome.
And they still tease me about it to this day. I'm 67 years old, and they be like, "Oh my God, we had to eat the mud cakes."
Wow. I just saw a video a couple of days ago about a place in, I think it was Haiti, if I'm not mistaken. And they were showing the village women going about collecting the dirt. They went to a special place to get the dirt, and then they brought the dirt back to the little village, and they added water to it and sugar. Check this out. They added water and sugar, and the women just meticulously put the mud pie scoops on board or whatever, and allowed them to dry. Sometimes it took as long as 3 days for them to dry. And that's the food that they fed to the babies, to the children. Interesting, huh?
Wow. Well, but when you look at it, probably wherever this was, since it was not the United
It
States,
was Haiti.
yeah, they don't have the issues with, the chemicals. But I know Haiti has refused all of the GMO crops and the spraying and things like that, so that their soil is still nutritious and still beneficial for people to be able to eat. And I find that absolutely amazing that they are able to feed that to the children. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
right,
Awesome.
right. So what I also found very interesting, that's the only ones that ate it was the children, because the adults refused to eat it. So I don't know, is that borderline child abuse, or is maybe something that they have instinctively, that maybe some minerals that are in that particular soil that is beneficial for children. I don't know, but your mud pie story just kind of triggered that
Yeah,
memory that I just
but I
recently
think it's worth a
received.
look at,
Wow.
because we do the same thing here. And this is always well, not always, but a lot of times part of the discussion I have with people when we were coming up, Star, you and I, as each season's changed, we would do a total body cleanse, and that was castor oil, and you followed that with an orange and a peppermint to keep that taste out of your mouth. But it kept us cleaned out going from one season into another. And we didn't have the amount of colds and flu and the viruses that are lingering around now. Some people with the colds and viruses, man, they can never get well. It just goes from one thing to another. So I think that sometimes when we go from being a dependent child to an independent teenager and adult, that we lose those ways, but perhaps those ways are still beneficial. And just because we now have free will, we decide not to. So I don't think it's because of child abuse or anything like that.
Well, that just came across my mind as is it borderlining child abuse, because it was like when they showed the women like younger women, maybe 20 or whatever. It was like, I don't want that, you know. So it was clearly the children maybe didn't have a choice to eat it. So that's what made me think that. I don't know. And I'm probably wrong.
Just it's, you know how we do it. It's worth it.
Yeah, always got to speculate.
That's right.
Always have to speculate. So, Sandy, what I really, really, really love about you,
Oh,
because you
thank
are one of my favorite people on the planet, what I love about you is your enthusiasm for life. You are so positive on every subject and in every way that you express yourself. And I just, when I first met you, I'm going to just give like a little synopsis of my first meeting with you. You were a health and healing instructor at the Living Foods Institute in Atlanta, Georgia. And our listeners are not able to see you, but I'm going to give them a brief description of you. You're probably all of about 5'1", if that. I'm not sure, but your aura and you are so tall and you come across so powerful, and I was just mesmerized and captivated by how you commanded the audience's attention and blown away by your knowledge on wellness and healing. And I will never forget that day. And I'm so grateful that we still are able to communicate with one another, and most especially that we're friends. Could you tell our listeners a little bit about your background? Because you're a really healthy person now. And this podcast is called The Wounded Healer Journeys to an Amazing Health. And so, have you ever had any health disparities that you didn't know quite how to handle in your life?
Would you like for me to cover all of them, or you can stop me when you get ready? We'll just do it.
I just want you to tell me what's on your heart, what comes
So my
to you.
first
Yeah.
major health opportunity came when I was in my early 20s, and the doctor told me that I had an ulcer. And this brand new medicine had just hit the market, and it was called Tagamet, Tagamet. And so from that MET, the MET, that indicated that there was a lot of heavy metals in this medicine. And Dr. Hershey, bless his heart, he's no longer with us, but he, gave me the prescription, told me how to take it, and I took this medicine faithfully for years. And I would go back for annual checkups, and he'd be like, "Okay, just stay on it. You're doing good. Stay on it. You're doing good." Until one day, my son was probably about 5. So this is probably like maybe 8 years into taking this medication. And one day I got up to go to work, and out of the pores of my skin, I had something coming out, and I was throwing up, and I had diarrhea, and it was just like out of every pore of my body, something was coming out. So I'm such a dedicated person that I went on and went to work anyway, just and just told my coworkers, I may be running to the bathroom a lot, but I'll be okay. But I didn't make it the full day, and so I got rushed by ambulance to the hospital, and so they did upper GI, they did lower GI, and they were getting ready to start that whole process all over again because they couldn't understand why I was having these issues. The coming out of my pores and throwing up and diarrhea and stuff. And so they did the lower GI, the second one, and then there was an internist that came in and spoke to me and was asking, so like, what medications do you take? I said, well, I only take one, and that's the Tagamet. and it's for my ulcer. He said, but you don't have an ulcer. I said, see, it's working. It's love, right? I mean, that's where my head went to. And he's like, no, actually, contrary to that, once you have an ulcer, it will always show on your x-rays, your MRIs and stuff like that. So, no, actually, you were misdiagnosed and you've never had an ulcer. And so your body is now fighting all of this over accumulation of the toxic metal levels that you have in your body. That's why it's coming out of all your pores and through your mouth, and you're having diarrhea and all of like that, because once you get all of that out of your system, you'll be fine. So, and I was like, I had never even thought of that concept before. How do you poison yourself with a legal prescription that the doctor gives you? So this had to have been 40 plus years, 40, maybe 45 years ago. I don't know. But it's been a long time before we got all of this information that is so freely available to us now. But it was just really like, I couldn't believe that my doctor that I trusted with my life had misdiagnosed me and had given me something that actually caused me to be sicker than what I was before I even took it. So that was my first experience with being misdiagnosed and taking some pills. But shortly after that, Star, I started having my hands would just swell and crack from being swollen, like the skin was just stretching to their max. I now understand that that was another reaction to all these heavy metals in my gut. Back then, nobody knew what it was. So, of course, they said, oh, it's your nerves, and you need to don't be stressed. Here, we got another pill. I'm like, I'm not taking no more pills, right? So, I started doing a lot of walking and drinking a lot of water and meditation and things like that. And so, but it was really hard on me because I didn't have all the answers, and the doctor didn't know, even how to find the answers. I even went through a period of time where I used to just black out, be driving, be in the house, be walking, and I would just pass out. So I went to the doctor, and I think this was really nailed it. So I went to the doctor and explained my symptoms. And so the doctor, and I blamed him because it was a male, and sometimes they could be very insensitive. And he says, well, I don't really see anything that could be causing your blackout spells. So the next time you feel you getting ready to black out, why don't you just find you a seat and sit down? So, right?
What?
Oh, like, oh man, you got to be kidding me. That's your professional advice. I actually reported him because I thought that was the worst thing that somebody could really, tell a patient. Yeah, yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
Right. Right. Wow. Well, what got me in your story that you just told me, that grabbed me, was
Yes,
that
yes.
there was this doctor that you trusted with your life.
Because we
Really?
have that blind
Yeah.
allegiance to the white
Wow.
coats. Our parents got it from somewhere. But as I would talk to my dad, who's he's 96, he'll be 97 in a couple of months. But as I talked to him, and I talked to my mom before she transitioned in November, they would tell me about the herbs and how their aunties and their great aunties would go and get the roots and the herbs from the Indians. My dad, he's famous for saying, well, yeah, we used to walk along the riverbed and we go over to their teepees and they would give us whatever we would need to get well. He said we didn't take any shots and all of that. When we were young, we only used the roots and the herbs or whatever concoction that they made up. But somewhere from my dad and my mom's childhood to their adulthood, all of that shifted, Star. And so now where they would use the herbs and they knew which herbs to use, now it's total dependence on stuff that is created in a laboratory. And I just find that so interesting. We have no idea what it is, but we take it blindly. And if you talk to someone about a healthier way of living, eating more green foods or more natural foods, getting away from processed foods and things like that, people look at you like you're crazy.
Right.
But they'll take the pill and they have no idea what's in the pill. So it's all interesting to me.
Or if you give them something that they're not familiar with, I mean, I've seen this happen where they'll smell it, examine it, want to know what's in it. But then when you give them a pill, they'll just take it and pop it. I mean, get some water and pop it. It's like, that doesn't make no sense at all. You're so picky about a particular food, but you're putting in your body chemicals that you have no idea what the chemicals are and even what they'll even do to you. So, yeah.
Exactly.
Wow.
Exactly. Yeah. So let me tell you about this other health issue that I had, and then we can, kind of build from there because what you just said really triggered that.
Well, take your time. Take your time, girl.
So back in 1999, I went for a physical with a new doctor. And so when I put down on my health history, so this is going to bring up a couple of things here, but as I put on so as I filled out the family history, and I said that my dad experiences diverticulitis, that's hemorrhaging from the anus, and that my mom had colon cancer, then I was just automatically signaled to have a colonoscopy. So I was okay with that. And so I drank that god awful stuff that make you just go to the bathroom and eliminate everything out of your intestines. I had to have someone to take me to the hospital to have the test. They knock you out, so you're sedated. You have no idea what's going on. They stick a probe up you, and they looking and they looking and they looking. You come out. I know for me, I did not come to my senses until well into the night, maybe even the next day. But so when I went for the results with my doctor, and now I have a female doctor, and I'm feeling a little bit more confident. So I go to the doctor, and she comes in and she says, I have never in my professional career ever diagnosed anyone with what I'm getting ready to tell you that we found in you. So I had to pull a team of specialists together, and we sat down and went over your file, and we jointly decided that this is your state of health. This is the doctor, I, again, have never diagnosed anyone with this. Here is some literature. You can go to the library and do your own research on this, or you can use this pamphlet right here and call the people or go on the computer. But you need to do your own research as to how to best correct or to best live, I guess, with the situation. Because never once was there, the doctors don't talk to you about curing or healing anything. So I'll say, so what is this?
Yeah, I'm hearing you.
So she said it's called Crohn's disease.
Okay.
Crohn's disease can take you right on up out of here, right? So
Right.
she's like, but I got this prescription. And the white coats, they get you right at that point. So all your common sense just kind of go out the window. So give it here, give it here. So I went and got the prescription filled the same day, probably within an hour after leaving her office. And I started taking the pills. But after a couple of days, I was so sick. I was sicker after taking the pills than I ever had been before they had ever diagnosed me. And so I was like, something ain't right with this. So I called my brother who lived in Texas at the time, and they had gone to a naturopathic doctor that had helped their daughter with the thyroid issue. The allopathic doctors actually wanted to cut her thyroid out, and she didn't want it. She was pretty young. She was maybe her mid-20s, but she was like, I don't want anybody to cut out my thyroid. So she had very good results with this doctor. So I went to see him, and so he checked me. And he's like, yeah, you do have some parasites in your intestines. You have a yeast infection. It doesn't look like you're digesting your food correctly. So he gave me some supplements to take to correct those issues. And so I went back to the doctor, and I told her, I said, I cannot take these pills. She's like, well, what's wrong? I said, they make me sick to my stomach. And she said, well, you've got to take them. I'm like, no, I cannot take them. And she said, well, you got to take them for the rest of your life. Right? And then she walked out the room. So I put on my clothes and I went outside and I sat in the parking lot. And I was like, Sandy, one of us is crazy. Is it you or is it her? She's told you plain and clearly she's never diagnosed anybody with this. She has no expertise. She has no knowledge. And if you want additional information, you got to go to the library or call the people and do your own research. So, at that point, I was like, you know what? We're going to do what Dr. Worrell said, and we're going to try it this other way. So I started feeling better. I did my first 45-day colon cleanse with the Master Cleanse system. I felt better. And I was doing that every couple of months, and like the more I did it, the more stuff came out. That was just really an amazing time frame for me. So that was in 1999. So when I went back, for my annual physical, she comes in and she says, well, how are those pills doing? I said, I told you I was not going to take those anymore. What do you mean? You got to take them. You can't just come off a pill when I give you something to take it. I was like, I told you I wasn't going to take that stuff. I had to take another colonoscopy, and then she sent me to a specialist. So of course, the colonoscopy was worse than what it was the first time I took it. And so when she gave me those results, I'm like, I'm still not taking those pills, doc. I'm just not going to do it. Well, you got to go to the specialist. So I go to the specialist. And when I tell you, he stood on the other side of the room from me as if I had a communicable disease or something. And seriously, and that's how he treated me, and so he was like, well, you only have a couple of options. You either going to take the pills that Dr. So-and-so told you to take, or I'm going to have to cut part of your intestine out, but that's no guarantee that it won't come back, or I'm going to have to start shooting you in the abdomen with steroids. The steroid is called prednisone. I'm like, no, baby, you ain't doing none of them, right? So I talked with my friend, the doctor in Texas again, and he had just come up with a new protocol where you clean out your liver, because your liver is your first form of digestion and, sending the food where it needs to go to the different body organs and things like that. So he says, well, if you can get here, I would love for you to try this protocol and see how it works with you. So I actually went back to the doctor and asked if she would give me request for time off so that, I could take that to my employer and then still go and fly into Texas. And she agreed. She's like, well, if it works, because you ain't going to take the pills that I'm giving you if it'll work. So I flew into Texas, went back to Dr. Worrell. And so, and see, with a naturopathic doctor, you don't have to come out your clothes. And that's one thing that's always intrigued me, is that a naturopathic doctor, you don't have to take off clothes, but you go to an allopathic doctor and you got to strip down to bare nothing, Anyway, that's just one of those little side parts right there for me. And so Dr. Worrell, when he asked me for like the fifth time, so what did they tell you? Then I was getting irritated. I was like, don't tell me I done flew all the way to Texas and now you going to be stupid too, And he said, no, he said, I just need for you to understand that, I see patients every day, sometimes 6 or 7 days a week. He said, you are the healthiest person that has been in my office all year. He said, and not only that, he said, you even got rid of the yeast infection. He said, women hardly ever get over a yeast infection. He said, the only thing wrong with you is that you got stinking thinking, and you started believing. As soon as they told you that there was something wrong with you, you internalized it, you believed it, and you start creating those
Wow.
symptoms in your body.
Wow.
Yes.
Well, that was a trip well worth taking.
And then, if you ever do some, I know you love research. If you ever do research, there's been facts posted that I think it's like 75 to 85% of the people in the hospital really do not have the diseases or the ailments that they have been diagnosed with. They have developed those because they believed what the doctor told them. And so they manufactured the symptoms that matched up with whatever the particular disease is. I know, right?
Wow. That's amazing. That's amazing. Well, I've always said, words are so telling. So you have a person who is a practicing physician,
That's
which
right.
simply means that he's practicing on your behind. And then you come in there as a patient who is patiently
Yes, ma'am.
allowing him to practice on you. You know what I'm
I
saying?
know, right?
Where did they come up with those words? Definitely. Wow, that is an amazing story. So, I guess right now I just want to say, as a disclaimer, that I am not a doctor, Sandy is not a doctor, and we are not giving out any prescriptions or any health suggestions to anyone, just basically talking about what has happened to us.
Yes.
And if you can gain something from the conversation, that's really awesome, because you ain't heard nothing yet. I mean, stay tuned, because this woman is a wealth of knowledge and wisdom and information. So after that, well, let me just ask you this question. You talked about doing the fasting, is it the miracle? What is it called? What fast is it?
It's Stephen Burrows. It's a little yellow book, and I think the book costs anywhere from $3 to $5. You can find it in most health food stores, Whole Foods, and places like that. And it's literally called the Lemonade Diet by a lot of people. And I think you can download
The Master Cleanse.
The Master Cleanse, correct?
Master Cleanse. Yes, the Master Cleanse. Right.
And
Wow.
so it's like, you're using cayenne pepper and lemons and gray beef maple syrup. And so what that does, most people are impacted when they get past, I don't even know what the age is. I'm going to say, especially with the foods as we're eating it today, that probably after about 5 or 6 years old, when they start the school systems and we know what type of food that, that they're feeding the kids, that we start being constipated. So even having bowel movements 2 to 3 times a day, it does not necessarily mean that you're not constipated. And so this guy told me this years ago, and I just just kind of shook my head at him like, man, people just say anything, and I'm sure that's how I how I sound to a lot of people right now, but it's true. And so, well into my second year of doing these extended colon cleanses where you're not consuming any solid food, the cayenne pepper kind of like a scrubbers off the sides of your intestines, and then you're washing it on out through your system, either with a herbal laxative or doing a sea salt intestinal rinse in the morning. And I tell you, Star, like into that second year, the stuff that was coming out of me was just awful, man. It smelled like sewage or something. So for me, I understood at that point that I had been constipated, that stuff was stuck on the sides of my intestines. And so some was able to get out, and come um, through a daily bowel movement, but I had stuff that had collected and had solidified on the sides of my intestines. So if you remember, and I think they're still doing it today, but if you remember as a little child, we used to take flour and water and we would make little designs, or we would make ashtrays, and we would make all kinds of things. And it was hard. So when you try it, it's hard. And so that's the same thing
That's
eating
right.
white bread.
That's right.
That's what it does to the sides of your intestine. It sticks. It sticks, and nothing.
Mm-hmm.
So when you look at it like that, and so
Mm-hmm.
just a quick side note for you guys, I did a 31-day fast last year, and my body was literally reset. So my body became like a little baby's, and every time that I ate, I was going to the bathroom within 3 hours, eliminating that food which I ate. So I know we can reset our bodies and we can become healthier. Sometimes it just takes drastic measures for us. They told me that Crohn's was a fatal disease and that you could never overcome it. It would kill me if I didn't take the pills. Well, I stopped taking the pills, and I no longer have Crohn's. I was over Crohn's when I refused to listen to what they. I took those supplements, for just like 3 to 6 months, man, and it's all cleared up. And again, I'm not a doctor either. I'm just sharing but I do know that we're our own best doctors. And so,
Wow.
excuse me, a suggestion for the listeners that if you're starting to notice things that are not normal for you, start writing it down. Don't trust your memory. Write down what's going on, what time of day, what does it feel like, does your temperature peak, does it drop, how's your energy, is your energy up, is it down, do you get constipated when you consume this or that. Keep a log so that when you go to the doctor, you should have at least a good month of symptoms that you can sit and have a discussion with the doctor about what's going on in your body. So this I know for sure. The doctors can only diagnose that which you tell them. So if you do not tell them, well, on Sunday mornings, it seems like I have this temperature and then I get really hungry. But then by the time I sit down and eat, I don't have an appetite, whatever it is that you're experiencing. And if you give the wrong information, it makes it real easy for the doctor to misdiagnose you. So from a person that has been misdiagnosed and stayed on pills for years, and then also being told that I had to stay on these other pills for the rest of my life, you can listen to your body and trust your body to tell you the truth.
Yeah, that's I like that advice. That's really good advice. But at this point right now, from your experience and listening to your story, I'm a little I'm a little shy to be going to a doctor. I mean, it's like, how do we know? We go there because they are the experts and they have this training. How do we know that what they're telling us is wrong? And like you said, so many percents of people that are in the hospitals are there from misdiagnosis or whatever. So I think that capsulizing it, you making the statement that we are our own doctors and we definitely should be paying attention, like you're saying, to write things down. Um, what we are experiencing that is different from what we know that we've experienced in the past. That's really the beginning of it. I'm just so into wellness. I have my own healing, wounded healer story. And I've met so many other people who have gone from illness, almost sometimes near death, to becoming their own practitioner and turning all of that around. And so, what advice would you give the listeners out there who may be having some imbalances in their health or their body and they're just sick and tired of being sick and tired? What kind of advice would you give to them?
Well, thank you, Star. That's an excellent place to start. Uh, what I like to tell people, the first thing, because there's so many additives and toxins that are in our food, and the processed foods contain substances that do not work well with our human DNA. And so we are becoming a sicker and sicker world because of what we're ingesting. So, my first advice to people is always to eliminate anything white. So, that's going to be milk, cow's milk. That's going to be white rice, white sugar, white flour. Again, that flour is sticking to the sides of your intestines and it's causing polyps and for your food not to pass through your system. The sugar has been noted time and time again is more addictive than cocaine. That high fructose corn syrup is another one. And so I know as a kid, and again, I'm 67, but as a kid, chickens didn't lay white eggs. Those eggs were brown and tan and, like that. And so these white eggs that all we see now, I believe,
Mm-hmm.
are a result of the chickens
Mm-hmm.
that do not get outside and get sunlight, but they're in those caged environments, which you really don't want that type of energy going inside of you as part of your nourishment. And so that would be the first thing. Learn about organic foods versus the GMO. Very simple way is to learn what the labeling is. So when you go to the grocery store to get vegetables and fruit, if that number starts with a 9, that's organic. And what that means is not as subjected to the heavy spraying of these chemical companies, Monsanto and DuPont, with all of the chemicals that they are knowing is causing cancer. So that's another. The government knows, the corporations that are spraying the food, they know that it's a carcinogenic, but they are still allowed to spray foods with it. GMOs and that flour, that gluten, is really causing a lot of havoc for a lot of people. So get rid of the white. And then I would suggest eliminating animal meat and animal products, if at all possible. If not, at least slash it by 80 to 90% of what you would normally consume, and get to your plant based whole foods living. So, a couple of years ago, actually, it's been a year, I wrote my latest book called God's Groceries as Nature Intended. in our creation, even if you don't believe in a supreme being or a power that created life, whatever that energy or that spirit or whatever you want to call it, that energy was very meticulous about providing everything that a human body needs to live healthily. So, and I believe Star, you posted something in Facebook the other day about eggplants, avocados, and there was one other that it was good for the woman's womb because it's shaped just like the
Pears.
pears,
Pears.
right? And then you have the tomatoes that, the tomatoes have like the chambers of your heart. And, the foods, if you look at the foods, you'll know instinctively what body part they're there to help out. Um, yeah,
Hmm.
exactly.
Absolutely. Like the walnuts look like the brain in your head. Absolutely. I mean, it's just was so divinely designed, you know, to validate. Let thy food be your medicine. Let thy medicine be your food. I mean, the Supreme just put it out here for us to have our medicine be plant-based food. Yes, that's a great point. Definitely.
And then,
And the more, go ahead,
no, I
Sandy.
was just going to say, it's not just food. And a lot of times we think that that's all it is, but we're holistic entities. And so we must be about the business of living stress free. We need to take care of our emotional health, our mental wellness, our spiritual self, our physical nutrition, the energetic, all of that is a part of who we are. So it would be really careless for me to just say, you just need to focus on the food because there's so much more than the food to live a well balanced, holistic life.
Absolutely. I agree. Which leads me into another question I'd like to ask you, and that is your knowledge and practice of Reiki. So that deals with the energy systems of our body. Is it energy and emotional or just energy? Can you explain about Reiki and what that does with the work that you do, how that helps our bodies and our health?
Sure. Thank you for asking that too. So it's called Reiki. It's like the ray of the sun and a key to
Oh, good. Thank you. Reiki. Okay.
I was like that too. I could never get that word right. I'd be like, oh my God, how do you pronounce that? But anyway, so our bodies have this abundance of chakras going all through it. And chakras are like little energy center and they're like little spinning tops. And so, some will go clockwise, some will go counterclockwise. And when these energy centers are not rotating the way that they should, so then that contributes to poor health. We focus primarily on seven energies or seven Reiki chakra centers from the crown of our head down to our root chakra. And in the process of allowing the spirit of the Most High to work through us, we're not healers. We're simply the ones that are directing the energy from that Most High source to the person. And so then the chakra centers can then start rotating properly so that the person receives the restored energy. So I want to just quickly kind of take you through a couple of situations in my own family. And family can sometimes be your worst critic. So I'm always yeah, but I'm thankful, when mine come to me. So my youngest brother had some issues with his neck and his upper back, and he was really in a lot of pain when I first learned how to do Reiki. And so I went to California, and he was like, "Oh, Red, I'm in so much pain all the time. I just I said, well, I just learned how to do this thing called Reiki, and I don't have to touch you, so it's not invasive or anything like that. And kind of explained a little bit to him. I say, so you want to lay on the floor? Let me see if I can help you. He's like, yeah, you can do whatever. I just know it's not going to work. And so I'm like, well, all right. So he got down there, and I dealt with him for about an hour or hour and a half, just shifting the energy and putting my hands on the different
Wow.
chakra areas and things like that. And Star, when I finished and I moved away, that boy jumped up off the floor. Jumped up off the floor. And so I didn't say anything to him because he was still like, I don't think this gonna work. I don't think this gonna work. So I'm like, all right. But he told me, I know, right? But he told me 4 years ago, he said, Red, he said, I'm sorry. He said, I never came back to tell you that once you did that work on me, I have not had that issue with my back anymore. So for him going into it being very skeptical, it worked. So you don't have to believe it's going to work for it to work. And then the other case that I had is a young niece, probably in her 40s, and she had been diagnosed with MS. She was on a walker, and you know how the walking is off center, and you're um, I'm sitting up here doing it like you can see me, but so she was on a walker. Her speech was slurred, and she had two younger daughters. And so I went and I actually did the attunement, which I gave them the skills, her two daughters and herself and me. So we were all in there. So I told the two daughters, and they must have been like five and 5 and 9 or something like that. They were young. And so I told them, I was like, this is what we got to do to your mom. And you guys have got to keep doing it. Even if she's sitting there and she don't want you to do it, stand away and just keep doing it. Just keep doing it because we want her to get better. So they were in agreement that we want her to get better. She was just out here last week, and I reminded her that she no longer suffered MS after me and her daughters did that Reiki session with her. So it works. It's those mysteries, and I just know that it changes instantly. It changes a person. It changes their energy. It changes whatever is going on. And like you just said a few moments ago, Star, we're divinely created. And it's not about all of this stuff that's created in a laboratory or the newest machines that, is going to do this to you and that to you. I don't want the radiation going through me. I don't use a microwave because that energy has always scared the bejesus out of me. Like, what kind of power is that can heat up food that quickly? Only to find out now that there's proof positive that the food changes its molecular structure while it's in the microwave. So what you put in as a piece of bread or a piece of pizza or something into the microwave, well, its whole molecule structure has changed by the time it come out. It's not even close to being bread or pizza. So I'm just saying.
Wow. And not only that, but it also loses whatever nutrition that was once in it. It's nullified. You're just eating mass. That's it. They did this study with water and using them on plants, and they had one plant. Well, yeah, they had one plant that they used just tap water. They had another plant that they used, I think it was distilled water, and another plant that they used water that had been in a microwave. And all the plants thrived except for the plant that was watered with the microwave water. It died. So what does that tell you? Wow. So that was what really kind of gave me the aha moment, and I don't use microwaves. I don't. Matter of fact, I had one in one of my apartments one time, and I used it for a bookshelf. I put my cookbooks in there. But no, I don't use them, and so, but it's all good. But you know what? They are very readily used in
I know, right?
restaurants.
Yes.
So whenever we go out, we're getting microwave food, whether we want it or
And
not.
that's such an excellent point. And folks, you guys have got to know that Star will research and she finds the vegan places, the best restaurants, raw restaurants, for anywhere that you want to go. And she loves learning and she loves sharing information with people. And that's one of the things I admire so much about Star. I learn so much from her on a daily basis because she's so intent on helping people to learn the truth. We have enough energy that's out here that's tricking us into believing that the things that we're being told is good for us, we must do. It's like milk. Milk has no bearing on calcium or good health for human beings. And so it's mandated in the schools. Most people of color are lactose intolerant. That should be enough to let us know that we shouldn't be drinking milk. But we gonna make ourselves take milk, drink milk, and then take an antacid or something to relieve that issue. I'm just saying.
Well, no, because we're not connecting the dots because we don't have the information, we don't have the
Exactly.
knowledge, And then, like you said, we're being tricked by
Yeah,
the
yeah.
advertising wizards out there that convince us that milk does a body good. I mean, when you hear milk, you almost want to finish it with that. Milk does a body good. And then you have all of these famous people that we admire and look up to, that's being in these advertisements with this. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's a white paint or whatever it is to indicate that they got the milk line, the
Yeah,
milk
yeah.
mustache on them. So it's just propaganda that we just keep getting downloaded with, that it just makes it so real. And it's just making us so really sick. It really is. So I thank you for the compliment, Sandy. The one thing that I have to add to that is that, um, you know, you and I are birds of a feather. And I love that because just as much as you say that I inspire and teach you, it's a mirror reaction on my part too. And I love that. I mean, because listeners, you don't know. This is how Sandy and I talk all the time. I mean, we don't be gossiping about anybody. We be talking wellness for hours. So
But Star, I don't think we hardly ever talk less than an hour. It's just like an hour is just normal for us. So
you are really getting a glimpse of our conversations on telephone. So that's it. You might say, well, dang, they're pretty boring, but we have fun being boring. Absolutely. Absolutely. So I'm going to ask you to tell us a little bit about how you got involved in this lifestyle, in this holistic eating lifestyle. I mean, from what your past history with, your illnesses and your body being out of
ooh,
balance,
the
what
eating
got you
part.
started eating differently?
Actually, it was going to Living Foods Institute because when I went to them, I had a real
Wow.
serious case of psoriasis and eczema, and my feet were just swollen. I couldn't wear shoes for months. And I know that it was a buildup of some heavy stressors. My mom had gotten sick earlier that year. I was one of the major forces in putting together a family reunion. And then shortly after the reunion, I was a key person in a first ever energy healers event here in Atlanta. So it was just a stressful year. So with all of that, and my mom had actually started me way back in the 70s on herbs and knowing about herbs. but we had never really talked about the food. And so when I had started volunteering with Living Foods, that was my first introduction to foods being a part of the healing process. A real dear friend of mine had colon cancer, and I remember going to see him, and he could barely move. He was just like in so much agony. And oh man, I prayed for him all the time because I just cannot even fathom how much pain he was in. And within 3 weeks, I went back over to his house to see him, and he was just leaping and jumping from place to place. He was entertaining guests that he invited over for dinner, and I'm like, "What's going on?" And he said, I just went through this program at Living Foods Institute, and we learned how to eat to heal our bodies. And I'm like, what? I just saw you, so I know what I had seen with my own eyes. And so from there, I started volunteering and, being over there, seeing what they were doing and, listening to people's healing stories and things like that. And so eventually I went through the program. The food, you guys have no clue. The food is absolutely amazing. And from there, from Living Foods, I went and got certified through Supreme Science with Jeff Premack, taking courses with T. Colin Campbell. He's the author of the China Study. He has a course through, oh my goodness, I forget the name of the college that he does an online course through. And so I really got into it. So, when I find new things, I always want to just absorb as much information as I can. And so that was the result of doing that book, God's Groceries. And so in God's Groceries, I give a lot of information. I give you recipes. I give you the colon cleanse. I give you the liver cleanse. I give you exercises to do and just a wide variety of meditation, prayer, and all of that. And so urine therapy and various other components of living holistically. And so that just kind of, segued the rest of it to opening up my mind into receiving other healing. And that is not, it has nothing to do with what can be created in a laboratory.
So can you tell us what is living food and how is that different from, let's say, raw food?
Living food, raw food, is food that have not been cooked over 105 degrees. So that is food in its most natural form, literally like picking from out of the ground. It has not been killed by high temperatures, so it still holds its nutritional value, the photochemicals, the minerals, and all of the things that are healthy that are taken out once you heat food over 105 degrees. Living foods are your sprouts. And so they call it living because you actually are taking a food and you're causing it to be alive. So when you sprout foods, you see the sprouts in the stores, you can sprout at home yourself. And so it's like you're giving life to that particular seed or bean, and then you eat it, and you can put it in smoothies or on top of your salads. I had broccoli sprouts as my newest thing now. I just absolutely love that on salads. And so living foods, of course, gives you more of the nutrients and the minerals and phytochemicals and all of like that.
Wow. Well, thank you for sharing that, the difference between the two, because I just kind of, before I came, and this is where I met Sandy at the Living Foods Institute, before I came there to volunteer and then took the class, the healing class, I knew about raw food, and I thought living food was the same thing. So I just wanted you to be able to tell the difference to our listeners so that they too would know. So you're a life coach. How can a person get in touch with you? Well, I want to say life as well as wellness. How can a person get in touch with you if they would like to have you to assist them in their journey of healing?
Well, thank you, Star. We can be contacted. I'm on Facebook. It's Sandy, Sandy, Rodgers, Rodgers. I'm Sandy Rodgers, Sandy Rodgers Ministries, Life, Love, and Wellness Global, God's Groceries are all ways that you can contact me through Facebook. My email, the simplest one for you to remember, is life, love, and the word and life, love, and wellness at gmail.com. And so you can send me an email. You can find me on Facebook. I do a radio show every Tuesday night at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Blog Talk Radio. It's called Life, Love, and Wellness, the Sandy Rodgers Show. You can reach us at 516-531-9819 or find us on blogtalkradio.com/Sandy Rodgers. And again, that's Rodgers for the last name. And you can just Google me. I come up under a lot of different social media platforms. So, and Star, I'm so tickled. I'm always being recognized out in the community now. Like people will come up to me like, I know you from somewhere. I'll be like, I don't know, where could it be? And it'd be, oh yeah, you're the lady that has that group, Life, Love, and Wellness. So if you don't mind, can I kind of segue into that right quick?
No, that was going to be my next question as to, are there any projects that you're working on that are near and dear to your heart that you would like to share with our listeners? Take it away, Sandy.
Thank you, Star. See, she knows me, you guys. So thank thank you. So you can go on Facebook and our group. Star is also an administrator. It's called Life, Love, and Wellness Global, a worldwide wellness movement. We have well over 4,000 members. We have people that are actively engaged in communication and conversations with each other, offering help in their particular field of expertise. They sharing information if they've heard from somebody else and it was something that intrigued them. They share it on the page. So there's always a variety, a diversity in subject matters that are being covered on that page. That page is a lead in to a project that I was gifted with last year. God gave me the responsibility of convening people of color and also to be able to serve that community plus low income communities with knowledge and education that a person can apply to their life to live a higher quality of life. So we've got doctors, we have allopathic doctors, we've got naturopathic doctors, we have spiritualists, we have mental health workers, we have emotional healers, nutritional, like people that grow their own food. And we've got one gentleman that is using the farming process to help veterans who come back and still have not received the type of care that they need for their post-traumatic stress syndrome. And through his process, he's saving lives in what he's doing. And, we've got people that's going to be bringing information to us about the dangers that's in vaccines. One of the reasons why we're focusing on people of color, not to say that we're excluding anybody because we're not, but we're making sure that we work within those communities, Asian, Native American, Hispanic, African American, Indian. We're in that community or those communities plus low income, because those are the individuals that are being targeted with the processed foods, the fast foods, the dialysis centers, and all of this that's contrary to living a high quality life. And so we just want to simply bring the information because that is not something that's normally shared within that population. Um, these modalities like Reiki and Qigong and Tai Chi that Star had asked about earlier, those are all modalities that are used in other cultures regularly. I remember an Indian friend of mine was having some
but one of
issues
the
with his
speakers that
gut,
keynote was
and I
actually a
was
doctor
asking him, did he
from
know
India.
anything about doing a
I would
veggie
love
crowd
to. I
or
would love to
fermented
because you know
foods? He's
after I
like,
did
oh
my
yeah,
31 days of a UN
to
fast,
always
they're calling me the
incorporate
expert.
that
I was like, I
into
didn't
what
want to
we
see what
eat.
it felt
And
like,
so
you
there
know.
are
And
cultures that
but we'll save
know
that for that show.
and
I'm
still
not going to say
practice
anything
some of
else.
those healing modalities that others are just not aware
Yeah,
of.
yeah,
So we want to bring that
yeah.
information to people. We're working with various community organizations to serve as hubs for people to come in and have the discussion, or for people that maybe don't have a computer or telephone to be able to pick the webinar up. So it's an international movement. We're working closely with some with individuals in Ghana, um, Uganda, and possibly South Africa, and Pakistan and India. So um, we're having we have at least 70 people. We have more, but we're going to use 70 speakers to provide information and knowledge to the general public. Again, those specific areas that we spoke about earlier, and they're going to come from their point of passion and compassion to share knowledge with people. And it's going to take place in alignment with the summer solstice, which occurs on June the 21st. So from the 21st of June through the end of the month, June the 30th, that's 10 days, we will have 7 speakers per day that you can go back to and listen at your convenience. The webinar will be free of charge, so that you get to get all of this information to be able to increase your health, your vitality, and your quality of life. And I am so geeked about this, man. I tell you, people have just been coming forth, film producers, experts in these different modalities. So there are seven areas: emotional, mental, physical, spiritual, energetic, nutritional, and medical. So those areas and more will be talked about, but we wanted to make sure that those 7 pillars of community life were going to be covered by the experts that we have that are have all volunteered their time, and they're coming forward to share different ways that you can use to reverse whatever health opportunities you may be experiencing in your life. So thank you, Star.
Well, thank you. You ran that down real wonderfully. Because what it has done to me is to give us hope, to give people, the underserved that are influenced by the TV commercials and that kind of thing, to give them the opportunity to know that the things that they are dealing with as far as health disparities are concerned, they have choices to have a better life, to live a better life. And so instead of thinking that, oh, it's generational, my mama had it, they daddy had it, the grandfather before that had it, it is, I should say that, how can I put this? That whatever you're going through, that whatever illness, it's like that is the equivalent of the gun, but lifestyle pulls the trigger. So something may have run in your family, But that does not mean that you have to continue to have it and then take it down to the next generation. If you change your thinking, like you said, that doctor told you had stinking thinking. If you change your thinking, if you change your choices and change your activities, then your life can definitely change. So, as a person just listening to you, and I'm listening to you with virgin ears because I really want to hear you. So, I'm listening to you today as though I don't know what you're going to say. And I'm thinking, so, Sandy Rodgers, how do I know more about this project? How can I be able to see these webinars and tell me more? How can I get in tune? How can I get connected? I want to know more so that when June 21st jumps off, I can be ready to learn.
Thank
Tell us,
you.
Sandy Rodgers.
The going on Facebook again and becoming a member of the group Life, Love, and Wellness Global, Life, Love, and Wellness Global. You can come in there. We're going to actually start next week with doing little mini podcasts. We're going to be using some of our team members that that's staffing this event. They're doing various podcasts to show you how to make a smoothie in like 5 minutes, or how to use supply or stack your freezer with food so that you're able to really maintain this particular type of eating. And so that's going to start next week. And so we're going to be posting those on YouTube and on Facebook. You can always send a message to that email again, life, love, and A&D, life, love, and wellness at gmail.com. Or you can go on the website, Keep America Strong, INC.org. So that's Keep America Strong Incorporated.org. That's the mother company that is heading and being responsible for this full wellness movement. And we have a section on there. You can find out more information. So you can check the website, Facebook, or send me an email. And those are probably the most efficient ways to get in contact with us right now. Star, I want to thank you. It has been a true honor to be your first guest on your podcast. I'm so I'm so proud of you because, like I said, I just admire the dedication that you have. And for those of you, this is January the 21st. Star gathered over 250 people from around the world and did a 21-day Daniel fast. That's going to be ending up tomorrow. So she's a powerhouse within herself. And so it's always an honor for me to be in her company and learning from her. So I thank you from the depths of my heart for being able to share with you. And it will be my pleasure to come back and talk about urine therapy or whatever else we want to talk about.
Wonderful. Well, I tell you, I am so grateful that you are my very first guest because you're going to make everybody want to tune in from now on. I so appreciate you and your time and your knowledge and expertise. And I love you, girl. Thank you so much. And I want you to know that this is not going to be the first and only time. You will definitely be coming back again because there's something that you said that I'm sure maybe the listeners did not pick up, but you mentioned something about urine therapy. And I certainly would like for you to come back again and actually, talk about that subject a little bit more because it was last September that you were the keynote. Were you the keynote speaker at the urine therapy?
Not keynote, yeah, but one of the speakers, the keynote was actually a doctor from India.
Yeah, so as far as I'm concerned, you was the keynote speaker there, and so this is a subject matter that many of us have never heard of before, but it is so vital to helping us to be have a balanced life and to really help to cure ourselves, revert. I won't say cure, that's a big word. I will say reverse a lot of the symptoms that we find ourselves having to put up with for years and years and years, that after just a few days sometimes of urine therapy, hey, it's all gone, it's all over with. And I am intrigued, and you in my eyesight are the urine therapy expert. So I want to have you come back, and that will be what we will be talking about, is that.
I would love to. I would love to, because after I did my 31 days of a urine fast, they're calling me the expert. I was like, I just wanted to see what it felt like, and yeah, but we'll save that for that show. I'm not going to say anything else.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, yeah, this is just a little teaser, just a little teaser. So yes, so well, I don't want to have you so tired that you will not accept my offers and invitations anymore, because it's 3 hours difference, and so it's getting late back there in Georgia. Are there any parting words that you would like to leave with our listeners today?
Thank you, big sister.
Wow. Well, I thank you, Sandy, because you know who you are by the feedback that those that know you tell you. So thank you very much. I'm grateful to hear it. All I know is that I have mad passion for healing and for self-healing. And my platform that I stand on is that our bodies are miraculous if we just move out of the way and let them heal themselves. What it is that you do and what it is that I do is to just, spread the word for people to think outside of the box and to act as their own doctors. We have it. No doctor will ever know our bodies the way we know our bodies. And have that courage and that faith in yourselves that as you move along in life, the Supreme Being will put those people in your pathway to guide you along the way. And I'm certainly grateful that you were put in my pathway. It has been a divine blessing to have you as my friend. Thank you so much. All right, listeners. All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, this has been a pleasure. And the Wounded Healer is here with another journey into amazing health. And I'm going to ask you to tune in next Thursday for another episode of The Wounded Healer, Journeys into Amazing Health podcast. Thank you, Sandy Rodgers.
Thank you. Again, my pleasure. I love you.
I love you back.
Peace and blessings, everyone.
All right now. Goodbye.
Thank you for listening to The Wounded Healer, Journeys into Amazing Health. If you enjoyed the show, spread the word. Also, go and subscribe. And while you're there, leave a 5-star rating and a review. We want to know your biggest takeaway from this episode. Follow us on Facebook and Instagram at The Wounded Healer Podcast. Thanks again for tuning in. See you next time.